Hello and welcome to the Mind Garden. Today we're going to be exploring simulation. So simulation what I define as simulation is when we're running a theoretical representation in our minds of a real-time scenario, so a real-life scenario. So that sounds pretty complicated, but a daydream, we could be daydreaming about that Ferrari, you know, whether it come true or not, it all depends upon your ability to go and actualize what you need to go and get that Ferrari. It's not going to appear like that unless you win the lottery. So once again, simulation. How often are we running simulations in our mind? And I run too many simulations. As soon as I wake up, I see a message, and then that triggers off simulation theory. Simulations, we're simulating. So like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Rather than saying good or bad, I should replace that with sometimes it's functional and sometimes it's non-functional. So there's another example of me recorrecting myself, the difference between good and bad and function and non-function. One's a perspective of morality, the other one is observational. It comes from an observational perspective, scientific perspective, function and non-function. We're not there to look at good or bad. And, so this is where mindfulness is a science. So coming back to simulation, how many simulations do you run a day? How many simulations do you run a day? I think the simulations I run most are to do with cricket when the cricket season's on. Saturday is game day. And all you cricketers out there, how often are you simulating what's going to happen on Saturday? And now you've got to think about it from the point of the last podcast, which was energy management. And so each one of those simulations cost us energy. And they also, sometimes the simulations empower us. Sometimes they make us suffer. We end up in a state of dissonance. So once again, it's important to start to observe, how are you simulating? Are there too many simulations? Do you need to slow it down? Do you need to start organizing your simulating, if you know what I mean? Because I've done a podcast on organized thinking, and a lot of the time we're just thinking without consciousness. We're in a state of association. One thought leads to another thought leads to another, and in the West they call that monkey mind. So back to simulation. I'm going to leave you with a couple of movie examples, simulation theory. So Matrix was the one for my generation. It was inspired by a Buddhist text, because the Buddhists, they believe that we create an illusion with our minds and the narrative that we use and the misuse of our senses. So illusion, and the Matrix. And if you think about it, bringing ourselves back to simulation, it was a simulation. They were simulating this reality, and the bodies were in pods. So there's one example. A second example would be now Truman Show. Truman Show is quite an interesting one. For me, I saw it when I was about 16 years old, and it was very, very cool. Like, in the very fact that he figured out that they've made a TV show centered around him, and he only figured it out almost like by chance. And I think the point being here, how often are you creating an illusory reality? Like, I've been there many a time. When I was young, I had status anxiety. I was trying to be something just to be accepted. And that's creating an illusion, isn't it, really? Because right now, I was 42 yesterday. I thought I was 41. I was 42. However, I was 42. And the point being now is I'm on the path of self-authenticity. And I think it's only natural when you get to your middle age that you are looking for self-authenticity, because you've got and tried everything else, and there's no fulfillment in it. There's no peace within it. There's no genuine bliss. And I think this is the point being, is illusion, simulation. How often are we creating an illusory reality, and then all of a sudden the illusory reality breaks down and actual reality presents itself? And that's where a lot of people will find that they'll have some form of acknowledgement. It could go one way or another. So I'm going to wrap up today Today is about simulation. How often are we simulating? How often are we daydreaming? How often are we creating illusory realities? So thank you for your time. Please share, please like, and until the next video, lifelong learning, peace, love, and respect.